Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel T-Spot. In this video, despite receiving quite favorable reviews, at the end of Season 4, CBS pulled the plug on it. However, NBC later gave it new life and a new home. Fans of the new series will welcome the opportunity to spend more time with these characters, but it is difficult to imagine it attracting any additional viewers. Despite its efforts to modernize the subject, the series does not appear to be interested in exploring anything truly novel. Magnum PI has mediocre gags about current technologies like Instagram and FaceTime. In the age of nostalgia-based entertainment, where such reboots are inevitable, still struggles to justify its existence. The initial Magnum PI scene. In the first episode of Season 5, Thomas Magnum is seen working as a private eye. When he makes an important mistake, he developed feelings for Julia Higgins, his partner. She had worked with My6 previously. Magnum immediately fell in love with her, despite initially being reluctant to admit it because she was a well-known badass. He had decided not to go there because he didn't want to hurt their friendship. Likewise, she had not desired that. They did everything in their power to safeguard their business up until the point where it was difficult to ignore their love for one another. In the end, they gave in to those feelings. After 4 seasons, they made it, and now comes the hard part. They now have to work on making their relationship work as well as trying to make the business work. Given the difficulties the partnership had previously encountered, it was going to be difficult. It happened naturally because Juliet and Magnum were so different. There were numerous disagreements between them. The decision to tell their friends that they were dating was contentious as well. Magnum had a lot to say to the world after their first night together. Meanwhile, Juliet prompted alert they shouldn't take a chance with illuminating individuals until they were sure of where they were heading down, since they are uncertain of how the association will create. They must also work together. Even without having feelings for them, working together was difficult enough. They both theoretically already lived together, occupied separate wings on the property of their close friend Robin. Magnum and Juliet ultimately made the decision to keep their relationship private. Instead, he began to deceive his friends, which was completely out of character for him. When Kuhn asked where Juliet was because she hadn't slept in her bed, Magnum said that she was in the cellar. He said that she had started a new exercise program called Wine and Rise. Kumu undoubtedly felt that something was off when he concocted that absurd lie, but she didn't come back for long enough for Juliet to come out of hiding. Magnum attempted to persuade Juliet to tell the truth. She was convinced that her approach was superior because he detested lying to his companion. As a result, she would reject it. Juliet was successful once more in convincing him of her plan. It only became somewhat unstable after that point. The only thing that seemed to help them was working together once more. A second case was found. They were approached by Sarah Macy. Sarah's husband had recently died. Greg was involved in a car accident. He perished instantly. Sarah was trying her best to pick up the pieces after her husband's death when she received a citation in the mail for running a red light. That night, Sarah realized that her husband wasn't the only one in the car. They were seen together in the image of him racing a red light on the night Greg died. Sarah had no idea who this woman was. She didn't recognize the person in the picture, and her husband hadn't told her he was dropping someone off. As a result, Sarah assumed the worst. She believed that her husband was with another woman. If the incident hadn't been caught on the traffic camera, she thought the woman was his love interest. Greg would have attempted to hide it. Sarah looked for answers. She asked Juliet and Magnum for help finding those answers, and they started looking into Greg. They quickly found out that Greg had been having private conversations with a woman who went by the name Jay. Greg was informed by Jay that they would have to end their conversation as soon as her husband returned home. Magna and Juliet were now beginning to think that Greg might have been killed by the husband of his affair partner. Detective Childs noticed them when they were found searching Greg's office. Children, the detective, was unfamiliar. He had taken over Gordo's previous position after he was fired for helping someone get out of jail. Also rough was the new guy. Children did not attempt to assist a few private investigators or discover the truth. He forbade the 2 private investigators from using a fake badge and instructed them to stay out of his way. They chose to ignore him. Using Child's badge number, Magnum also gained access to the traffic camera that evening and discovered evidence that Greg had been run off the road by another vehicle. The press-on nail was also found within the vehicle. The nails decorations were exquisite. Magnum got in touch with his ex-girlfriend Kimmy to get professional nails done. It appeared to be her work. Juliet felt a little jealous of Magnum's conversation with his ex-girlfriend because he kept Kimmy on speaker. She revealed to Magnum who was the owner of the nail. It belonged to Linda Parker. Her husband was Nathan Parker, a well-known figure on the island. He was rich. His security team is very strong. Additionally, he had a history of domestic violence. Greg and Melinda never had a romantic relationship. Before he realized that her husband was abusing her, Greg had been treating her for a few months. He tried to help. Greg was trying to get away from her. Juliet and Magnum came across pictures of her bruises on Greg's computer. They even went to Melinda's house to find out how she was doing. She has avoided using her cell phone since the accident. Fortunately, they were mistaken in their belief that her husband had killed her. Melinda was present and visible. They also saw that she was being treated badly, and in the end, they were able to piece together the truth. After that, they tried to visit Detective Childers without Melissa's permission. Children didn't have any legal reason to do anything. Juliet and Magnum were then used as bait by him to get them to act. He was aware that they would go find Lindy and save her. It happened precisely when they needed children the most. He showed up with an entire team and assisted them in freeing her from Parker. Despite his strength, Childs was not all that bad in the end. Magna and Juliet came to like him over time, and they got to meet Sarah and meet Melinda. Melinda then told Sarah about Greg's life-saving actions, and Sarah found out that her husband was decent. Magnum's. However, the former co was absent. Because he hasn't received any of his most recent pension checks, it turns out that Captain Green was being held against his will by people who wanted to know the names of his black operations team. Magnum tells Higgins in the second episode that Rick needs a place to crash. Rick arrives at that exact moment with all of his belongings after preparing her a delicious breakfast. Higgins and his friend laugh together. TC likewise moves toward Higgins in a coy way. She refuses to go on a date with Jin, C's friend, despite being forced to declare her single status. Higgins and Magnum meet a man whose sister died of an overdose just a few days ago. The mean person is curious about the death of his sister Karina. He requires a response. Higgins and Magnum make a cordial request to the precinct to inquire about Karina's situation. Surprisingly, they are given access. While Rick lives in the same house as them, they discuss how to keep their religion a secret. While they look over the documents, in addition, they discover evidence on a storage facility suggesting that Karina was murdered. TC. Additionally, Jin offered. Jin explodes in rage. Dan offers $4,000. He is instructed to visit Tay. In Rick's pub, Higgins and Magnum talk to Gordon. He hears about their predicament from them. To go undercover, they have to pretend to be lifeguards. Gordon agrees. They arrive at the beach where Karina's body was found dead hours later at the lifeguard station. Names they use are fictitious. Tifa learns of Jin's knowledge that the storage unit they purchased contained gold. He was given money. TC has informed Jin that a Purple Heart will be returned to its rightful owner. Magnum talks to the locals on the beach. Karina had a lot of enemies. He is asked to apply sunscreen to a brunette, as she finds out. They come across Higgins. She is informed by Magnum that it is not what she believes. As they talk about what they've learned, Higgins Magnum is forced to save a crying child from the waves. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you for watching. See you soon.